Sealskin, Soulskin. Story from women who run with the wolves. Myths and stories of wild women archetype. Clarissa Pinocchio Este, PhD. Narrated by Rainbow Winds. Sealskin, Soulskin. During a time that once was, is now gone forever, and will come back again soon. There is a day after day of white sky, white snow, and all the tiny specks in the distance are people or dogs or bear. Here, nothing thrives for the asking. The winds blow hard, so the people have come to wear their parkas and mamelukes, boots, sideways on purpose now. Here words freeze in the open air, and whole sentences must be broken from the speaker's lips and thawed at the fire so people can see what has been said. Here the people live in the white and abundant hair of the old Analuk, the old grandmother, the old sorceress, who is Earth herself. It was in this land that there lived a man so lonely that over the years tears had carved great chasms into his cheeks. He tried to smile and be happy. He hunted, he trapped, he slept well, but he wished for human company. Sometimes, out of the shadows, in his kayak, when a seal came near, he remembered the old stories about how seals were once human. And the only reminder of that time was in their eyes, which were capable of portraying those looks, those wise and wild and loving looks. And sometimes then he felt such a pang of loneliness that tears coursed down the well-used cracks of his face. One night he hunted past dark, but found nothing. As the moon rose in the sky and the ice floes glistened, he came to a great spotted rock in the sea, and it appeared to keep his keen eye that upon that old rock there was movement of the most graceful kind. He paddled slow and deeper to be closer, and there atop of the mighty rock danced a small group of women, naked as the first day they lay upon their mothers' bellies. Well, he was lonely a man with no human friends but in memory, and he stayed and watched. The women were like beings made of moon milk, and their skin shimmered with little silver dots like those salmon in springtime. And the women's feet and hands were long and graceful. So beautiful were they that the man sat stunned in his boat, the water lapping, taking him closer and closer to the rock. He could hear the magnified women laughing. At least they seemed to laugh. Or was it the water laughing at the edge of the rock? The man was confused, for he was so dazzled. But somehow the loneliness that had weighed on his chest like a wet hide was lifted away, and almost without thinking, as though he was meant, he jumped upon the rock and stole one of the sealskins laying there. He hid behind an outcropping, and he pushed the sealskin into his quanga, his parka. Soon, one of the women called in a voice that was the most beautiful he'd ever heard. like the whales calling at dawn. Or no, maybe it was more like newborn wolves tumbling down in the spring. Well, no, it was something better than that. But it did not matter because what were the women doing now? Why were they putting on their sealskins? And one by one the seal women were slipping into the sea, yelping and crying happily, except for one. The tallest of them searched high and searched low for her sealskin, but it was nowhere to be found. The man felt emboldened, but by what? He did not know. He stepped from the rock, appealing to her. "Woman, be my wife. I'm a lonely, lonely man." "Oh, I cannot be wife," she said, "for I am the other ones who lived beneath." "Be my wife," insisted the man. "In 7 summers I will return to your sealskin to you, and you may stay or you may go as you wish." The young seal woman looked long into his face with eyes that but for true origin seemed human. Reluctantly, she said, "I will go with you. After 7 summers it shall be decided." So in time they had a child, who they named Uruk. And the child was little and fat. In the winter the mother told Uruk tales of the creatures that lived beneath the sea, while the father whittled a bear or a wolf in white stone with his long knife. When his mother carried the child Uruk to bed, she pointed out through the smoke hole to the clouds and all their shapes, except instead of recounting the shapes of raven and bear and wolf, she recounted the stories of walrus, whale, seal, and salmon, for those were the creatures she knew. But as time went on, her flesh began to dry out. First it flaked, and then it cracked. The skin of her eyelids began to peel. The hairs of her head began to drop to the ground. She became palest white. Her plumpness began to wither. She tried to conceal her limp. Each day her eyes, without willing it so, became more dull. She began to pull out her hair in order to find a way, for her sight was darkening. And so it went until one night, when the child Uruk was awakened by shouting and sat upright in his sleepskins. He heard a roar like a bear, that was his father, berating his mother. He heard a crying like a silver rung on a stone, that was his mother. You hid my sealskin 7 long years ago, and now the 8th winter comes. I want what I'm made of to return to me," cried the seal woman. "And you, woman, would leave me if I gave it to you," boomed the husband. "I do not know what I would do. I only know what I must have and what I belong to." "And you would leave me wifeless and the boy motherless. You're bad." And with that the husband tore the hide flap on the side of the door and disappeared into the night. The boy loved his mother much. He feared losing his mother and cried himself to sleep, only to be awakened by the wind. A strange wind. It seemed to call to him, "Uruk, Uruk." And out of the bed he climbed, so hastily that he put onto his parka upside down, and he pulled his boots on only halfway up. Hearing his name called over and over, he dashed out into the starry, starry night. Uruk. The child ran out to the cliff overlooking the water, and there, far out in the windy sea, was a huge, shaggy silver seal. Its head was enormous, its whiskers drooped to its chest, its eyes were deep yellow. Uruk. The boy scrambled down the cliff and stumbled to the bottom over to the stone. No, a bundle that had rolled out to the cleft into the rock. The boy's hair lashed into his face like 1,000 rains of ice. Uruk. The boy scratched open the bundle and shook it out. It was his mother's sealskin. Oh, he could smell her all through it, and he hugged the sealskin to his face and inhaled her scent. Her soul slammed through him like a sudden summer wind. Oh, he cried with pain and joy, and lifted the skin again to his face, and again her soul pressed through his. Oh, he cried again, for he was being lifted with unending love of his mother. And the old silver seal, way out, sank slowly beneath the water. The boy climbed the cliff and ran towards home, with the sealskin flying behind him, and into the house he fell. His mother swept him and the skin up, and closed her eyes in gratitude for the safety of both. She pulled her sealskin. "Oh, mother, no!" cried the child. She scooped up the child, tucked him under her arm, half ran and half stumbled towards the roaming sea. "Oh, no, mother, no! Don't leave me!" Uruk cried. And at once you could tell she wanted to stay with her child. She wanted to. But something called her. Something older than she, older than he, older than time. "Oh, mother, no, no, no!" cried the child. She turned to him with a look of dreadful love in her eyes. She took the boy's face in her hands, and she breathed her sweet breath into his lungs. Once, twice, 3 times. Then, with him under her arm like a precious bundle, she dove into the sea. Down and down and down and down, still deeper down, the seal woman and her child breathed easily under water. And they swam deep and strong till they entered the underwater cove of seals, where all manner of creatures were dining and singing and dancing and speaking. And the great silver seal that had called Uruk from the night sea embraced the child and called him grandson. "How fair you are up there, daughter," asked the great silver seal. The seal woman looked away and said, "I hurt a human, a man who gave all he had to me, but I cannot return to him, for I shall be a prisoner if I do." "And the boy?" asked the old seal. "My grandchild?" He said it so proudly his voice shook. "He must go back, father. He cannot stay. His time is not yet to be here with us." And she wept. And together they all wept. And some days and some nights passed, 7 to be exact, during which time the luster came back to the seal woman's hair and eyes. She turned a beautiful dark color, her sight was restored, her body regained in its plumpness, and she swam uncrippled. Yet it came time to return the boy to the land, and all that night the old grandfather seal and the boy's beautiful mother swam up with the child between them. Back they went, back up, 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 way up to the upside world. There they gently placed Uruk on the stony shore in the moonlight. His mother assured him, "I'm always with you. Only touch what I have touched, my fire sticks, my eula, knife, my stone carvings of otters and seal, and I will breathe into your lungs a wind for the singing of your songs." The old silver seal and his daughter kissed the child many times. At last they tore themselves away and swam out to the sea, and with one last look at the boy, they disappeared beneath the waters. And Uruk, because it was not his time, stayed. As time went on, he grew to be a mighty drummer and singer and maker of stories. And it was said that all came to be because, as a child, he had survived being carried out to sea by the great seal spirits. Now, in the gray mists of morning, sometimes he can still be seen, with his kayak tethered, kneeling upon a certain rock in the sea, seeming to be speaking to a certain female seal who often comes near the shore. Though many have tried to hunt her, time after time they have failed. She is known as the Bright One, the Holy One, the Tangikakaka. And it is said that though she can be a seal, her eyes are capable of portraying those human looks, those wise and wild, loving looks.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.